New Zealand wants you and your family to move in and is opening their housing market to get you there. Is Latvia's Golden Visa growth positioning the country to become the next king of European residency? And how will the new Bolivian election results influence the country's place in Latin America? All that and more in this week's report. And welcome back to the weekly report. My name is Darren McKenna, your host. We have a packed show for you this week, so let's get right into it. Is New Zealand opening up its housing market? That is what many are asking themselves once it was announced that the country's treasury is currently reviewing an exemption to 2018's foreign buyer ban, which was added as a proposal to broader immigration and investment reforms. This original 2018 ban, also known as the Overseas Investment Amendment Act, or as I like to call it, OYE, prevented almost all buyers of foreign origin from purchasing what they called sensitive land. This included everything from residential areas to non-urban land above 5 acres and even classified entire islands as off-limits. Basically, unless you were a New Zealander or held a residential visa and had spent at least a year in the country, you were not allowed to buy any real estate. But things seem to be moving in a new direction. Earlier this year, New Zealand government already restructured their active investor visa to simplify access and grant wider investment opportunities. And now they seem to continue this trend into residential real estate. While the Deputy Prime Minister Winston Peters affirmed that the 2018 ban isn't going anywhere, he did float the idea of creating an exemption when it comes to the purchase of luxury real estate. Specific numbers have not yet been discussed, but right now, all signs point to this being limited to the upper echelon of the housing market, and strict restrictions will certainly be put in place. Already, we are hearing rumors that the exception will only apply to foreign residents of the country and that households will most likely be restricted to a single residence. Keeping housing prices down is a big priority for this government, and it was this goal that sank an earlier proposed relaxation on the buying of homes priced above 2 million New Zealand dollars back in 2023. This is not a welcome call for industrious landlords. Instead, the government seems to position this change as a way to become more attractive for permanent settlers, allowing them to buy a proper family home the moment their residency starts and start putting down roots. New Zealand's biggest draw has often been its nature and lifestyle, and we know that given the ever more turbulent times we're living in, many of you have been looking for a plan B that takes you far away from any potential fallout without sacrificing on quality of life. It seems New Zealand has caught up on this and is now trying to make it even more appealing for you to settle in Middle-earth. Of course, as with everything involving politics, things are bound to change, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and we will keep you up to date as this story develops. For our next story, let's head over to the Baltic nation of Latvia. It's not a country we often discuss here on Nomad Capitalist channels, but perhaps we should rectify this, as recent reports show that the small nation is on track for a 50% growth in successful visa applications year on year. This is great news for the country, as the Golden Visa program has previously been on a steady decline since 2013. But things are seemingly turning around, as in just the first 6 months of this year, 44 applicants have successfully applied. This already accounts for a nearly 75% on last year's total. And what is the cause of this sudden surge in popularity? Have people discovered the beautiful Riga beaches, or has grey peas and bacon finally become the trendy Instagram dish it was always meant to be? No, not really. The answer is much more mundane, as people are turning to Latvia for one simple reason: speed. Latvia's Golden Visa program has become one of the fastest and most efficient programs in Europe, with average processing timelines being around 1 to 3 months long. All the while, the more popular European visa destinations are starting to lag behind. Greece has reported a backlog of over 50,000 applicants, while Italy and Portugal are undergoing constant regulatory changes, as well as legal challenges that have put a brake on attempts to modernize their prospective programs. Combine this with the country's company investment route, which only requires you to invest 50,000 euros plus a 10,000 euro state contribution for a total of 60,000 euros, making it one of the cheapest programs that you can use to gain entry to the EU. So I'm sure you can see why this country is becoming an ever more attractive option. Latvia can be a great option for people who want to expand their freedom and movement and are looking for the quality of life improvement the EU has to offer in terms of healthcare and education, which is most likely why we see the biggest growth in applicants coming from Turkey and the UK. When it comes to gaining full-blown citizenship, however, this is certainly not the easiest path to follow. They require 10 years of physical residency in the country and for you to become knowledgeable in both Latvian history and the local language, which I will not even attempt here. I'll leave that one for Javier, in order to be eligible for the Latvian passport. Now, before we continue on, have you always dreamed about entering the world of the digital nomad and global entrepreneur, but are not quite sure if it's right for you? Then here is your chance to get a taste of what this life could offer you, as well as meet a bunch of like-minded individuals to connect and share insights with. Nomad Capitalist Live is less than a month away, and tickets are running out. So if you want to be a part of our biggest event of the year and get a chance to hear world-class innovators like Steve Wozniak speak in beautiful Kuala Lumpur, you can't miss this event. We have experts on everything from global mobility, real estate, banking, and investing opportunities. If this is the life for you, make sure you don't miss out and get your ticket now. We can't wait to see you in Malaysia. Now let's quickly hop over to the Malaysian border and on over to Thailand, where they just launched a pilot program allowing foreign tourists to convert their cryptocurrencies into Thai baht with the hopes of stimulating their tourism industry. The program, called Tourist DigiPay, was announced this Monday by Finance Minister Pichai Chun Havijura. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Where is Javier when you need him? Who made their goal clear from the start. We want to take every action to facilitate foreign tourists for their stays in Thailand. This new program adds a new innovation to replace overseas visitors' cash and credit card use here. So to use this new system, you will have to take some time to set things up properly before you arrive in the country. Key aspect here being before you arrive in the country. You'll need to set up an account with both a digital asset trading system and an e-money provider, both of which will need to be vetted by the local SEC and Bank of Thailand. Once you've done this, you'll be able to convert your crypto directly into Thai baht with your e-payment platform into what they call a tourist wallet. From this wallet, you can directly pay for everything from a hotel to a meal at a restaurant through a quick scan of a QR code. So you will not be able to exchange any of it for physical cash, nor will you be paying locals with crypto. As proposed, this system will be a closed payment ecosphere solely rooted in the baht economy. So there is no need to worry about sending the local pad thai restaurant a currency they will never be able to use. There is currently a separate pilot program running in Phuket where you can directly pay selected companies with crypto. But with this new test, the government wants to keep everything within the baht economy. Safety and fraud protection are stated as priorities for this program. There will be strict payment limits in place with a monthly purchase limit of around 500,000 baht or $15,000 for larger merchants and around 50,000 baht or $1,500 at smaller local shops. While it can be assumed that this system will be in place at big cities and popular tourist attractions, just how universal this system will be adopted across the country is yet to be seen. Now, do take note that you can't withdraw any of the converted baht just whenever you want. Instead, you have to completely close the account in order to retrieve the funds as a measure of preventing misuse. Beyond this, you will have to undergo what they call the standard identity checks, like KYC, know your customer, customer due diligence, and so on, in order to be eligible for the program. This could potentially be a revolutionary system, something only a few countries have even started to implement. If it proves successful, well, it could be a big win for Thailand, whom have long been worrying about the declining tourism numbers. Tourism currently makes up approximately 12% of the country's GDP. As such, this downward trend and increase in local competition has long been a headache for the government. Will this big swing pay off and prove to be the success they desperately need? Well, the pilot is set to launch on the fourth quarter of this year, so we will know soon enough. Now, before closing out the show, let's take a close look at the shocking election results out of Bolivia. Despite only the first rounds of voting having been completed on Sunday, we can surely say that history has been made. Neither of the two candidates who are heading out of the runoff elections is from the left-leaning Mass Party, signaling the end of a political dominance that has lasted nearly 20 years. This wild swing comes amidst the country's toughest economic crisis in years, exemplified by heavy fuel shortages, rapid inflation, and even lack of some food items in stores. Resentment has risen so high that the Mass Party candidate Eduardo de Castillo was booed out of the building when he went to a local school to cast his own vote. A small explosive device was even detonated near this site, though, luckily, there don't seem to have been any serious injuries. One thing is clear: Bolivia is done with this socialist regime and is now looking towards the future of change. So what could this potentially look like for us global nomads? Well, for that, let's look into the two leading candidates and their platforms. First, we have the surprise winner of the first round of voting, Senator Paz Piera. While pundits had predicted him to end up in 8th in the polls, his vote total surged, and at the time of this recording, he has accumulated 32% of the vote. This is still a good way off the necessary 50% or 40% of the vote with a minimum 10-point lead a candidate would need in order to win outright without triggering a runoff election. A self-described centrist, his primary focus lies with decentralizing the government, bringing more power and funds to local officials, and cracking down on corruption in the police force. His economic policy seemed aimed at being more individualist in approach, where the various regions of the country will be empowered to pull Bolivia out of its debts together by prioritizing local projects and a strong embrace of new technologies like blockchain. He has expressed a wish to stimulate investment, but how much this will open the way for foreigners to new opportunities in Bolivia is yet to be seen. On the other end of the ballot, we have former President Jorge Quiroga, who got about 27% of the votes and is the frontrunner for the Conservative Party. His platform consists primarily of conservative mainstays like cutting public spending and judicial reform. He is also an outspoken fan of Argentinian President Javier Milei and especially his economic platform. Jorge Quiroga does seem to have a strong wish to reintegrate Bolivia more within the wider world. He has expressed a desire to strengthen bonds with the U.S., and his agenda includes negotiating new trade agreements with China, the EU, and India. He has indicated he is willing to ask for international funds from the IMF to help lift Bolivia out of its economic slump and seems to be more welcoming to foreign investments than its competitor. Now, what this means for Bolivia's wider place in the world and what opportunities may arise for global investors is yet to be seen. Perhaps we will only see some restrictions on trade being lifted, or we might even see a completely new immigration program as we did with Argentina's CBI earlier this year. It all remains to be seen. But one thing is for sure, things are about to change in Bolivia. We'll just have to wait to see just how big these changes will be. That's it for this week's news. As always, let us know what you want to hear us talk about next. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest news. Happy Friday, everybody, and remember to always go where you're treated best.